What's up, Tay Sight?
Chilling.
Feeling like a villain.
Minding my business. I looked around and I couldn't believe this.
Oh my God, I love that song.
Everyone loves that song.
I know, right?
Shoot. I
It's
don't know what
actually makes
shoot
up.
means.
What does shoot mean?
You know what? It's funny because they had Salt and Pepper had Shoop, and then Whitney Houston had a song called Shoop that Babyface wrote for the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. And as a kid, I was like, this must mean something.
Oh, that Whitney Houston song "Shoop." It's just like those shoops. Oh, even when she shoops, it's oh my God.
Yeah, like my shoulders are raising just thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like I'm there. Oh
Shoop,
God, I'm gonna listen to that later.
Yo, man, that whole Waiting to Excel soundtrack was.
It is
but like,
so good.
Yo, we had some great black soundtracks back in the day, and Waiting to Excel was definitely one of them. So was Space Jam. Come on, guys, you know how we do.
Oh God, when a black movie does a soundtrack, I mean that's why Black Panther was so hot. It's like we do it well.
we need more soundtracks, guys.
Yeah, we collab really great when we're doing a movie that we're behind.
Yeah, and then you know what? I think that's just because hip hop in general is just a great storytelling method.
Yeah.
So I just think it lends itself really well to film soundtrack.
I you know this, and I have this idea. I'm putting it out there, kind of, so anyone can make it. I want to make a play or something that it's like Mamma Mia, but it's just all '90s R&B songs.
Yes,
because they tell a story.
Yes, I saw that you said that, and I was like, absolutely. Obviously, Babyface has to be involved.
Yes,
or
exactly.
Teddy Riley.
Yep.
Or it's just someone from that era, and we just have a complete. I always thought that, actually, now that you bring it up, I always thought that House Party would be a fantastic stage musical.
That would be good. Yeah.
Right?
Yo, we're putting this out there. Someone should get on.
Yo, someone make this the next Lin-Manuel Miranda. If you're listening,
exactly. Yeah, if Legally Blonde can become a stage.
Like we have some great, like Friday could be a musical, and Friday would be an amazing musical.
Friday, oh my God, can you?
And
imagine?
You know this man.
Friday as a musical would be amazing. And it actually makes sense. Why isn't it?
I'm telling you, just like I think that Les Mis and Phantom of the Opera, like they've dug into like white like literature and culture, but like there's so much of our black culture, especially recently during our '90s Black Renaissance. Yo, there's stuff there. There's still fruit on those trees.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna start shopping this around. We should get some things happening.
Yo, you know what? Yeah, let's pitch this. Let's get this to an elevator pitch.
Exactly, right? Just boil it down. All right, are you ready to do this?
Absolutely.
All right. What up, bro?
What up, bruh?
And welcome to Bruh Meets World.
What is Bruh Meets World?
Your Boy Meets World Fancast. I'm Siege.
And I'm TC.
A little backstory for those who are listening. We are releasing this episode a little out of order because when we originally recorded this, the file got corrupted and we just lost all the sound quality. So TC and I agreed to record it again, and yeah, this is where we're at.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for us just because we've this was episode 6, and we've basically seen the entire first season at this point. So going back and watching this it's interesting to see the characters, how they've changed, and just see how the relationships are and everything. It's a new take for us.
Yeah, so we're letting you know if you are listening to this in order that this episode is kind of gonna feel ahead of its time or like out of place because we were at a different place when we started recording this, but I still think you'll enjoy it.
Well, and I also still have my notes from our original viewing too, so I'll be able to provide some of that perspective. But
we'll be able to give like some bit of what our first impressions were, but like also It's really funny to see, as you said, all of the things that are different now.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so let's get into this. The Tell Me About It.
Tell me about it.
Yes, the Tell Me About It is Corey cheats on an intelligence test.
Which is accurate. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, so we were just talking about 90s music. I was like, can we talk about the name Boys to Men?
Yeah, that was really cool. You know what? Boys to Men was I feel like they were such a huge deal in the 90s that they were able to cross over in ways that other 90s R&B groups just weren't.
But they just got to be. They also have to be part of our musical. I'm just saying.
Oh, 100%. And they would too. They're at Epcot every year, bruh.
Okay, let's get into the episode. Okay, so in our opening scene, Feeny is handing back tests, and Corey is literally being a class clown. Like he's literally has a bozo nose.
He has a clown nose on his face.
Exactly, and he's just kind of like interrupting and not actually he's not. He's just messing with Sean at this point in time, but of course it's a distraction. And Feeny calls him out, and then makes him wear the nose for the remainder of the day.
Which I felt like that's something that like Corey would kind of like relish in. Like he almost like Feeny let me be a distraction, you know, in a way that he would kind of have fun with it.
Well, what's interesting is like at this point in time, I think it may be too early, so let me get to the next point. But I will say that
Sure.
like, so Feeny is handing out tests, and he tells one Mr. Lewis that he's doing a good job, and then he tells Corey that it wasn't his best work, and then Corey's like, "Look, we both got C's." Which, by the way, Corey takes the paper off the other kid's desk.
Rude, so rude,
just completely rude. Absolutely no consideration for the other person. And he's just like, we both got C's. What's this all about? And Feeney's like, well, he worked hard for his C. And he even kind of pulls Corey aside because that is the thing. It's like,
yeah, he didn't want to call out the other kid. Oh, question about the other kid. Is that third seat kid or is this a different kid?
No. All right. So third seat kid is here. Third seat kid's in
White
class.
third seat kid.
White third seat kid is in class, but he is not the other person that Feeney's talking about. This is a completely different kid. And it's also really weird because, as we said, Corey kind of just put the kid on blast. He's like, oh, we both got C's. And you're like, why would you do this? Like, we were handing back tests individually. You didn't have to tell what this boy got.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand Corey's point, though, because from his perspective, he's like, well, why the hell am I getting called out when we got the same thing? But Feeney handled it well, I thought.
No, yeah, I mean, Feeney does handle it well, but it's interesting because in this entire scene, Corey's like, oh, is this why you let Minkus get away with everything? You know, he's just like complaining that he gets called out on everything, but Corey is literally interrupting the class all the time.
Yeah, and Minkus also gets like good grades.
Well, yeah, well, that's the thing. He's like, I think, is this the part where he asks Feeney, like he says something about Minkus, like why does Minkus get away with it? He's like, Feeney's like, did you hit your head or something?
Yeah, exactly. Like and again, that's brings me back to this other point about Feeney and Minkus having this almost secret relationship that we never really see on camera.
I agree, but it's also Minkus, like for example, Corey's like, oh, why is it that you don't take away his paper airplanes or something like that? And it shows Minkus like literally building an entire
like a model, paper airplane,
paper airplane, and he's like, I withdraw the question, and Feeney's like, yeah, dude, like chill.
But, yeah, obviously Minkus would need to do something because he should be bored in that class.
Yeah, exactly.
He shouldn't be in that class.
You felt this way the first time, and we're gonna hear a lot about this. But yeah.
There's no reason for him. Like clearly, his intelligence is superior. He doesn't even have to try in class most of the time. This kid's bored.
Yeah, he is bored. But unlike Corey, who is bored, he's not disrupting the class all the time, which is what I think is the problem. What really in this scene particularly that bothers me is that Corey's like, oh, how come I don't get away with anything? It's like, you literally are getting away with the fact that you are disrupting the class in this moment. And, you know, everyone else is just going along with it.
Yeah, I mean, you could be where Black Third Seat Kid is, Corey. If you need to play your cards right. Appreciate what you got.
That's a very good point. Okay, and then we have the theme song.
Yeah, that theme song. Well, I will tell you this, just because we are reflecting back on this season. The theme song is circling back for me. I'm starting to like it again. I hated it for so long, but now I'm just like, and I'm sure like if you're listening to this in order, my next episode is just gonna be me complaining about it again. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's not my favorite, but it does have a charm to it. It's a very whimsical charm.
I told you, I realized once it was over that my eyes literally gloss over the entire time it's playing. Like I just don't even notice it anymore. I'm like, oh yeah, it was on.
And I do also just appreciate because I don't think And maybe it's different. I don't know. I don't remember the other seasons like playing the full intro every time.
Yeah, that's a very good point as
And
well.
I think in season one, like it's important just because you never know who's starting to jump onto the show and who knows the actors and everything. Like it's important to have that cast introduction. But by season two or three, a lot of times there's just like that bumper that's just like Boy Meets World, and then like guitar music playing, and they just fade into the episodes.
Yep. Yep, yep, yep.
So yeah, I was just appreciating it while I had it.
Oh, look at you. You definitely have come around to it.
Yeah, I'm just nostalgic.
Okay, so after the theme song, we get a new scene because apparently both of the boys had detention, and he assumes that Sean waited for him because we kind of see Sean in the hall, and he's like, "No, he got detention too, just from art class."
Which I have you ever gotten detention from an elective?
Yes.
You would.
The answer is yes. But here's the thing: I very rarely got detention because I was one of those kids who like moved around and talked all the time. But I also had a charm, so if I got detention, it was because most likely I deserved it.
Oh, I got detention consistently, but my detention was always just like I would fuck with my teachers in ways that like they knew I was doing it, and part I feel like part of them appreciated like the wit behind it, but they still yeah I had detention a lot.
See, I very rarely did, but I will say that there were like a few times that like I got a detention in an elective. So yeah, I understand. I feel Sean on this one.
Yeah, I mean I this is a tangent. We can edit this out, but one time I got detention because I had to do like a fake resume, like it was for whatever job I wanted,
Uh
and I did it for being a male stripper, and I said I
huh.
could open beer bottles with my butt cheeks, and uh, and
Why
like
would
all
you
this
get
like
detention?
ridiculous stuff, and I got sent to the dean's office, and the dean had to like read it out loud to my mother on the phone, and my mom later told me she's like I was trying so hard not to laugh.
How could you not? Here's the thing: if my kid did that, I would literally ask the teacher, "What is like?" Don't get me wrong. Again, is it appropriate? No, but like that's not detention worthy.
No, not at all. Like, did he do the assignment
Yeah,
right? Seems
exactly.
like he did.
I would
Like
literally be
strippers
like,
need to
"So
fill
what's the
out a job
problem?"
application too.
Yeah, exactly. That Are you saying that that's not a legitimate career, sir?
Yeah, like are you excluding exotic dancing from the pantheon of what OHS is capable of?
That's hilarious. So while Sean is like throwing away his juice box, which I pointed out and I still think is really cool, it's like one of those barrel juices. You remember like the
Those cheap ass ones with the foil top that you would have to
exactly like
poke
the
through.
blue.
Yeah, the ones that almost look like I thought they looked like grenades as a kid.
Yeah, I always thought they looked like grenades too, and it never dawned on me that they were barrels, even though I called them barrel juices or whatever.
And those were always the cheap ass juices you would find at like the black birthday parties.
Exactly. Well, not just Black Birthday Party, but do you remember? Did you ever have a candy lady? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. I had a candy lady. A lady who just always had candy available and ready to like pass out to the kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there was that person. But anyway, I just remember those. And they're always blue. Or at least they
I don't
should
know.
be.
I remember them being red, but that's just me.
Okay, see, I mean, I think there are red ones, but I'm saying in my mind the default is like a blue.
Yeah. And to me it's always at like and my default is like at the beach when like all of us would take a beach trip, but like that's what the cooler would be full of for the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, completely out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We were talking about this, but um he throws away his juice box and very conveniently placed is almost on top of the garbage, I guess, cuz
I
you can
love
see
that.
its answers to a test.
Yeah. I love that Sean doesn't pay attention to literally anything in Feeney's class. Yet when he's casually throwing something away, he's like, "Hold up, these are test answers."
Exactly. I was like, how do you see a sheet of paper and be like, oh, these are answers to a test? I was just like,
Yeah.
this is like very weird. So what's funny is like Corey's like, you can't look at these answers to the test. You'll get in trouble. You'll get like detention for life. And then Sean's like, oh, it's not a regular test. It's just like an IQ test, and goes to throw it away. And Corey's like, whoa, hold up. So he immediately abandons his principles that he just had the moment it works out for him.
Yeah, it's almost like where some people are like, well, a certain kind of stealing is okay, but other kind of stealing isn't. It's like no, like well,
No, I
let's
mean,
call it what it is.
exactly. So he goes to throw it away, and Corey saves it, and he's like, "I'll be the person who can like master this test, and then Feeny will respect me."
I will
Uh,
say this.
yeah.
I think, and I don't know if it's from our perspective of where we're at watching this. I did think it was strange that this was Corey's idea without Sean's initial influence.
Well, that's what I do. Like, we make a note of it, and it is important. It's like, yeah, this is a role reversal. Sean is the one who's like, Corey, look, just throw the test away and don't make your life harder. And
Yeah.
it's actually, I think this is interesting, and this is before we get to Sean's episode, where he has the cherry bomb,
Oh yeah,
fiasco.
this is way before. Yeah.
So because of that, I don't think they've quite put Sean in that box yet.
Sure. Sure.
Whereas this is something that like, oh no, Corey would do this, and Corey would do this, but it's just like it's a role reversal for their two
And
characters.
the note I had about this is the same note. Like even watching it now, my notes from before confirm it too. I don't understand why Corey is trying so hard for Feeney's respect. At least at this point in the show, it doesn't seem like he has that relationship with Feeney that he would need it. I don't understand why he's going through such extreme lengths to try to prove something to Feeney when it seems like he's like, oh, this is just a teacher that's on my nerves.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not only that, but it's like in this episode, he's like, "Oh, Feeny doesn't respect me. I'm trying to gain Feeny's attention." Blah 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 blah. But again, he is not noticing how much leeway Feeny gives him. And it's like really, I looked at it just being like, Feeny is giving this boy so much length to like express himself, and he doesn't really come down on him as hard as Feeny could. And yet Corey just feels like he's being picked on and singled out.
Also, like if he really cared about making like impressing Feeney that badly, Feeney literally just told him in the previous scene, "I respect this kid because he worked hard. I respect everyone who
Exactly.
works hard." Why are you like, oh, this? I don't know how Feeney's like. No, you know what to do.
Well, yeah, it's like
Like
a
well, you're
just
looking
work
for an easy
hard.
way out.
Exactly, just work hard. His response, cheat.
Yeah, the opposite of working hard.
Hilarious. All right, so in the next scene, um, and if you haven't watched it, Corey has basically agreed to just cheat on this IQ test that they're giving the entire school for some reason.
Did you
And
ever take an IQ test in school?
what'd you say?
Did you ever take an IQ test when you were in school? I don't
I
remember
don't
ever taking
remember
one.
doing that. I think I don't can't remember how many times we took that like personality quiz or whatever, where it's like they
Sure.
tell you what job you're good for. I remember doing that several times, but
Yeah, never an IQ test.
yeah, never an IQ test. Huh. So Feeney says that the results are in, and one person did so well that he was not only the highest in the class or school, but he's like made people question the ceiling of human intelligence. And it's kind of funny because I rewatching it, you can see Feeney is just setting the scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and one, a lot of things are happening right now because Minkus is looking smug as fuck right
Yeah.
now because he swears that Feeney's talking about him. But when you really think about it, Feeney knows
Yeah.
that Corey cheated on this thing. Like from the get go, he knows
Yeah.
that he cheated.
Exactly.
So he's doing all of this almost to kind of put this guilt onto Corey.
Yep.
Additional guilt, which by the way, guilting kids, I don't know how I feel about it.
About guilting kids?
Yeah, about just using guilt as a tool in any way, like even as a teaching tool. I don't know that I like using guilt that way.
That's very interesting. I don't have kids, and I don't like, since I don't know how much I would believe this in practice. But yeah, it's like I don't believe in guilt. I think honesty and directness is the best way. But I mean, they also kind of want Corey to come to this conclusion on his own. So, it's like how do you do that without, I don't know.
I guess I always see guilt as a form of manipulation in some way, and I
That's
feel
a good
that
point. That's a very good
there's
point.
just there's better ways to teach without teaching than guilt, and I feel like Feeney does it. And maybe we're looking too far into this, but it just seems like this whole performance that Feeney's giving now, just like the top, like no one's ever scored this high. knowing that it's for Corey, that in that first test he cheated for it, yeah, it just seems like he's trying to make him feel extra guilty about it.
Well, I feel like he's giving him kind of the room to come forward. You know what I mean? Because like
I feel like Corey would be less hesitant to come forward after Feeney made a big spectacle about it, though. Like if Feeney had called him over after class and just had a one-on-one conversation, I feel like that would have been the end of it.
well, see, I don't know because what happens is, as you said, he kind of assumes. Sorry, Minkus assumes that he's the one that Feeney's talking about. And we know that Feeney is baiting Corey, but he says that no, it was actually Corey who has like this great mind and it's clearly underrated. And Corey immediately stands up and just accepts the applause. And it's just like, oh, yeah, it's like no big thing. I did it. And he has no humility about even cheating. And like I said, I feel like Feeney kind of wanted to do it to give Corey what he wanted, which was like this praise and acknowledgement, but also to see how Corey would react. And Corey just completely leans into it with no guilt at all.
Well, I
And
think Corey also is kind of reveling in this fact that he won up to Minkus. I think that was a huge like ego boost for him, just
yeah,
knowing that he was going to show him up for the first time and make Minkus feel like he wasn't intelligent. Right after basically Feeney said to him in the first, scene, Minkus can get away with stuff because he's intelligent. So
exactly. But like, so what? One thing that Feeney says, sorry, Corey goes and Corey's like, yo, it was no really big deal. And he's like accepting the praise. But Feeney is like, no, it is a big deal. It's a very big deal. And the way he says it, Corey and the audience knows that like this isn't the end of it. And it's like I said, I do feel that for Feeney, this was a line. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he gives Corey a lot of space to do all this other stuff, but he never considered Corey a cheater. And so when Corey
yeah.
cheats at this, I feel like Feeney's really disappointed.
Yeah, but I can also understand Corey thinking like, well, like this isn't part of the curriculum. This isn't anything we're going to be graded on. What's it matter if I cheat for something that's not going to affect my grade? Like I can see why Corey would think that, and maybe that's why Feeney isn't as hard on him because he just wants Corey to kind of learn from the smaller mistake before it morphs into a bigger one.
Yeah, but all right, we can take that. We can take that. Next scene, we are back with the family, and it's really funny when you see this. You know, we've gone back to this earlier episodes where it's like you get like the family little B plot, and then you have the bigger Corey arc. You know what I mean?
Yo, and I didn't realize how much like Morgan plays a part in the story. Like it
Yeah,
seems like she gets less and less as the season goes on.
I agree.
So, yeah, it was just interesting to see a lot of her involved in the B story.
Yeah, so for everyone who doesn't know, Morgan and Amy are trying to pick out their Morgan's Halloween costume, and it's really funny because at this point in time, we have Morgan being like her cute little thing where she's like Shelly Figus's mom is able to get her costume today, and Amy's just like well, I'm not Shelly Ferguson's mom, so
Yeah, I mean, my mom would say things with a little bit more attitude than that, but I feel you, Amy.
yeah, exactly. Also, this is the scene for the very first time we learned that Amy is a realtor.
Okay, yes, Amy is a realtor. All right, and you know what? It's one that it's a thing that we don't really see too much of.
I mean, we do. We get a few. They talk about it. I think whenever, remember they go to that real estate convention and all this other stuff. They acknowledge that she has this other career. We just don't get a lot of storylines around it. At least in
Yeah,
season one.
yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
I just made that. She even has like that '90s realtor look. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely, absolutely. She has that skirt suit
Yeah, exactly.
um with the big hair. Like she looks like she was she just came from Designer Woman. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I could just see her face on like a bus ad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I mean, who knows? Maybe she's super successful. Alan later in the episode says she's very successful at what she does. So
Exactly. And that would again, this would explain their
the
whole
income.
income. Yeah.
Well, and also like the
And how
real
they
estate
got the
market
house.
fluctuates too, so maybe that contributes a lot.
Yeah, but you're always like, how do they have that house? Well, if Amy is a real estate agent, then they probably got that house for a sweet deal.
Yeah, she knows the market. You know
Yeah,
what?
exactly.
Take
So
it back.
anyway, um, Morgan's like, "Hey, I want my costume," and Amy's like, "You don't have to wait." Essentially, but that's when Eric comes in, and he's like, "All right, I'll agree to take Morgan to go get her costume," and so the family agrees to all of this. And as they are leaving, Corey and Sean rush in, and they're like, "Oh, can't talk. We have homework to do," which immediately throws up a red flag. Like no one is buying this from any of them.
Yeah, yeah.
In Corey's room, Corey's like panicking. He's like, Feeney knows, which he does. Corey's not wrong. Um, and Feeney sent home a letter to his parents. And at this point in time, Sean's like, look, you just need to calm down. This is where Sean is like being Sean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought that Corey's guilt really showed that he is a good kid at heart. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there was ever any question from anyone in the story that Corey was being malicious.
Yeah.
He's such a good kid when it comes to just trying to like make his family happy, and like all of this was really to make Feeney like him more. Like, his intentions are always so pure in a way.
No, I don't know if this was a pure intention. Again, in my mind, or at least in my interpretation, Corey did this to manipulate the system. You know, he feels unjustified in his treatment, which again, he's not really seeing how much he's actually getting away with, and he's gotten caught. So of course, Corey feels guilt because this Corey is the type of person who doesn't do this very often. But I don't think it's ever a question of whether or not he's a good person. But I don't think he did this for like good intent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I guess you're right. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
It's white boy logic. Like we've talked about this. I don't know if we've gotten to that yet, but just that whole thing of just like, well, I didn't know this was wrong. Uh,
Exactly. We have not gotten to that point yet because I will point that out. But many of you have heard us talk about white boy logic, and this was the beginning of me noticing the white boy logic that is Boy Meets World.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of it.
Exactly. Well, I mean, one of the things in the schemes that they do is like they decide to open the letter to see.
Which is really Sean's influence. I will say we
Yeah,
do
yeah,
see Sean
exactly.
encourage that.
Exactly. Sean's like, look, we can open the envelope, just switch it with another envelope. Which again, it's really funny because as Sean talks Corey through all the rest of the schemes, even though it was Corey's idea, it does show that Corey's not even that smart to like think of his next step. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah,
needs Sean's
totally.
assistance in order to even get halfway through this plan.
I will say at this point, I wrote a note in my notes from our first watch where I said that Sean was giving me major Edward Furlong vibes in this.
What is that? I don't
Edward
remember.
Furlong, he was John Connor in Terminator 2.
Oh yeah. His hair starting to
Just
grow, is that what we're
his
saying?
his whole appearance, just like
Yeah.
and I guess also this kind of like them kind of making him more of like a troublemaker. I don't know. It felt very Edward Furlong before like the drugs.
Yeah. Oh, sad face. Yeah. So the whole thing that they've decided to do is this year for Halloween, Corey's going as a genius because he's just gonna instead of just realizing that he's in over his head, of course, because this is a TV show, they've decided to keep going with the scheme and just make it bigger because that's always the right choice.
Yeah, and like they're just like, oh, we're gonna make this into like a fun Halloween game where we just try to manipulate a bunch of adults.
Exactly.
Ah, man. But like, I don't know. You remember being a kid? Sometimes you just come up with shit that's just like you don't even realize that you were doing
Yeah.
something wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what I'm saying. It's
I
like
don't
a
know.
Corey didn't think through any of these decisions. Like he's just reacting.
Yeah, I have to remember that he is like I want to say 11 in this. He's 11, and like I don't know. I don't want to say like so much is just like oh he's privileged or whatever. Sometimes in this case he could just be 11.
Yeah, no, I'm allowing him to be 11. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that even as an 11-year-old, Corey did not think this through at all. Like it's funny
Oh no, no
because like
yeah
you just see Sean like kind of looking at him and being like, "You really aren't thinking at all, are you?"
man.
And it
Sean, you know what? They're even now there's such a dynamic between them of just like that person who's just constantly almost pushing you to go further.
Yeah, exactly. But also, it's like pushing him to go further, but it's also you can kind of feel Sean's side eye to Corey throughout this episode. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Just kind of
yeah,
like a you're really my friend.
yeah, yeah,
You know when you have that friend who just makes bad decisions and you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch and see how this goes.
yeah. Let's just see how this shakes out.
Exactly. So in the next scene, because again they've decided to manipulate the adults into believing that Corey's a genius, because that's gonna work. Corey is listening to classic music with his foam finger. So even when he's pretending to be a genius, he can't not be Corey.
And one of the original thoughts, there was no mention of baseball in this episode because I remember now. I'm
Yeah,
remembering back on how all of the first half of the season was all baseball themed, but
exactly.
this foam finger was the baseball reference.
That's what I thought of too, because I was like, I think his room is even different. Like, I just don't remember this much baseball paraphernalia, but maybe it
Isn't
is
it
still there.
crazy how after even just this one season, like he's gone from being crazy about baseball to every episode to now we can't remember the last time it really got brought up.
Exactly, exactly.
It changed so quickly.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, but especially towards the end of the season, we are dealing with girls now, so
Yeah,
it kind of
and
makes sense.
girls, yeah, that'll do it.
I will say it's like so getting back to the plot, his parents come upstairs and they clearly have just finished meeting with Mr. Feeney, and they said that they know about the IQ test, which I will give Corey props for this. He's like, "What do you know?"
Yeah, he's not gonna admit to a crime he hasn't committed yet, which I completely respect.
Yeah, no, I mean like he won't admit to it until he knows what you know. And I do love that about Corey. Corey's almost always like, wait a minute, before I incriminate myself any further, let
He's a
me
smart
know
kid.
what
He's
you
a
know.
smart kid.
Yeah, exactly. He's a different version of smart than he's
He's
pretending.
street smart.
Yeah, exactly. Which is important. And they said that they are like, well, we know that you scored the highest in the school district. And Alan's like, well, how did that happen? And Corey's like, I blame the public education system. And this is where I think I got back into my social justice warrior phase, where I was like,
Sure.
all right, so let me get this straight. Corey's whole plot to this is that he is being underserved and he's making fun of the public education system now by cheating. Like, what is going on with this? Of course, he doesn't look at it like that, but I'm like, dude, this is messed up on so many levels.
My question during this scene and is at what point did the parents know that he's lying? Like, do they know it now?
Yeah, I think they know immediately. I think, like, again, because their whole thing is like, I think Amy says after 15 years of being a parent, I think I know my kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, again, everyone's kind of questioning Corey. They don't directly accuse him of anything, which I think is noble of them. But they're
Which I
always
feel
like,
like that's such a privileged thing too, because I feel like if I
exactly.
was growing up, someone would be like, "Boy, did you do this?" Like that all
you're,
the time. There
you're
was
not
no
wrong,
skirting
and
around it.
I definitely I agree. All right, so anyway, going back to it, they're like, I think I know my kids, but of course, as a little funny TV show bit, this is when Morgan runs in her new costume, which originally they thought she wanted to be a princess, but Morgan is now dressed as a zombie.
Which I loved. I loved this whole like Morgan not wanting to be a traditional female character, her wanting to be whatever she wants to be, and her being so weird and original that she's a zombie. However, I don't feel like this is something that's so true to Morgan's character. Like I feel like this would be more of like a Topanga thing to be so out of the box with a costume.
We'll see.
I haven't seen anything in Morgan's character that lead me to believe um, that she would just be so unique.
Well, so I disagree because even in the episode they kind of allude that it was Eric's influence, and this is back in the time where Morgan and Eric have a lot of more scenes together,
They did
and
have a very cute relationship in this episode.
exactly, and I think she's just like she wanted, she had the influence of her older brother, and she found something that was cool, and zombies are cool, especially for the type of person Morgan is. I mean, she's not so restrictive and being girly in this box. Morgan's creative and fun, and so I see that she's enjoying herself in this.
Yeah, yeah.
So sorry, that's my feelings on it.
No. I think you're right too. It's just, it's. I don't feel like they know what the hell they want to do with this character. I think is just what I'm getting
Well, it's
from
a
this.
very fun plot device that, of course, pays off in the third act, which is why we're even doing all this.
But
And it
that's all I
also,
ever see from Morgan is plot devices. I don't see
yeah,
any character at all.
I agree. I mean, it is a kid, and I'm not sure how much you can get out of like a 4 or 5 year old. I don't know. It's just like I'm not expecting a lot. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I feel like when I like used to see like first like season Cosby Show, like they were able to do a lot with Rudy.
That is
So,
true. Oh man, I really miss
yo, you
like
know what
old
sucks? I don't
Cosby.
think Hulu is even streaming Cosby Show anymore.
I
And like I
mean,
don't. There's no way to
rightfully
find
so.
it.
It's just like you just don't want him to get them ducats anymore. So
Yo, you can separate up. I don't know.
I no,
Maybe
no,
you
here's the
can.
thing. I'm not disagreeing. The Cosby Show is a fantastic show, and
That is just art, like a piece of art that exists as a perfection in and of itself, separate from the artist.
that is true. But I will agree that at the time, it's just like until we can figure out what to do with him. I'm okay with taking a break just for a little bit.
I don't know. You could take away a man's entire livelihood without him actually being like legally. I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
Let's
Well, that's a
we'll
whole
save
other
it.
topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So in the next scene, Corey's like, "Yo, this whole thing is getting out of hand." He was like, "When it was just Feeney, I didn't feel bad about lying, but now that my parents are involved, I don't like lying to them." Which again is like, it is a note of how good Corey is, but also, we get like a little bit of Sean comedy where Sean's like, "Yo, lying to my parents gives me a little rush."
Yo, and again, them just setting Sean up to be that character that just enjoys trouble. That's just like
Yes.
excited by trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the one where I want to play it.
Sean, this whole thing is getting out of hand. Relax. Everybody thinks you're brilliant. You should enjoy it. When it was just Feeny, I could enjoy it. But now my parents are involved, and I don't like lying to them. You don't? No. Because it gives me a little rush. Besides, you didn't tell me you were a genius. Feeny did. And I didn't tell Feeny I'm a genius. The test did. And you didn't ask to take the test. They gave it to me. And you wouldn't have even seen the answers. If they didn't give us detention. We're innocent victims. Nothing we do is actually our fault. It's good to be kids.
Welcome to White Bro. White man logic.
Yeah.
That whole thing, I was like, oh yeah, we definitely have to play this because this is the introduction and like this is white boy logic 101. It's ridiculous. None of it is our fault. We're innocent victims.
Yeah. That's and it's interesting too because it just seems so I don't know the right way to think about this. Like I don't feel that that's an attitude I would ever have as a kid.
Well, I was gonna say that's because black children are taught to take responsibility for their actions at a very young age. I mean, like if we really want to get into it, and we don't have to, but it's like when a black kid gets shot, they're like, "Oh, well, what was he doing? Why were you doing all this?" You know, it's just like your actions and your responsibility are all your own. No, at like age 6. So the fact that they're 11 and they're just like, "Look, it's not even our fault. What were we supposed to do?"
Yeah, like I guess like you wouldn't hear like Emmett Till just being like, "Well, I would have whistled at her. She didn't walk in front of me."
Exactly.
You know?
That's what I'm saying. It's just like it's ridiculous. And also, I noticed this like if we want to keep leaning into this whole white boy logic thing, they are having this conversation in class around
Out loud,
everyone.
not
Yeah, out
not
loud.
even whispering.
Exactly. Not even like in the halls or whatever. It's just like just talking, and anyone can hear you, and it's just like you guys really aren't even doing the bare minimum, which again is
You know
how this
what?
started.
I let me ask you about a trope that I've seen, and it's I see it a lot in the '90s and prior in sitcoms, where it's like sitcom dumb. And when I say sitcom dumb, I mean someone who's able to function, who's able to even go to class or work or whatever, but they just don't seem to have any common sense at all. Like Joey from Friends would be like sitcom dumb, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And it's just that dumb that's just dumb enough to joke about, but like that person is not completely um I like they can carry on the normal conversation as well. So
Yeah.
it was just a trope that I've noticed a lot from this era.
Yeah, well, also, but have you ever met people like that? Because I was like, that's a real thing. They're not. all frequent, but you have that one friend who's just like, you look at and you're like, no, seriously, how did you get this far in life?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do. But I guess it was just you see it to a lot of extremes, and on television especially, it's like people plotting plans out loud, not caring about their surroundings, or just like I don't know. Eric becomes extremely sitcom dumb as the show
Oh,
goes on.
God. Which is also another like this to show how early we are. Eric is really being underutilized even in this episode. Like
Oh,
he's
this whole
just
first
a
season, he's
teenager.
underutilized.
Yeah,
The
but
whole first season.
well, we're starting to get a little bit more of him in the later episodes, and his comedic skills.
Yeah, I feel like we don't really see a lot of Eric until at least like season 3 or 4 is when we really start to see, because that's his whole like not getting into college, and like his relationship with Mr. Feeney gets so much stronger, and that's where Eric shines a lot.
Oh, okay. All right, so back to the story. Minkus comes over and Minkus like has all these questions because he's like, if you're so smart, why are you always trying to copy off me? At which Sean
This
has like
is
a
such a
pretty
bullshit answer.
yeah, it's like he's not copying off of you. He's just admiring the work of a fellow genius. Which again, I think it's really funny that Corey is the one who actually cheated on the test because Sean's actually the one who's really way better at like going with the lie. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, Sean's I think he's just comfortable lying in general. Like, I think he just, because he gets such a rush of excitement from lying to his parents, I feel like he gets that rush lying to anyone.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, good for him.
This is a serial killer in the making.
You are so determined to make Sean a serial killer. I do not think he is.
I don't feel like he is or he becomes one. I just feel like he has the potential to. If he didn't have Corey around, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's funny. That's funny. But Feeney comes into class and Feeney's like, actually, someone's going to be taking over for the first half of the class. I need to speak to Mr. Matthews. And that's when even Sean looks at Corey like, oh shit, I think this is like way bigger than we thought.
We also have a female Asian substitute teacher, so we have a little diversity that they're trying to pencil in there.
She doesn't speak at all.
No speaking roles. No, not even a long camera time.
We can't do that too much. Like, let's do
take
diversity
any
a little bit.
win we can get on this Philadelphia-based show that has zero representation of color.
Yep, exactly. I mean, there's a black girl in class. What you talking about?
Speaking roles, bruh.
Exactly. All right, so but Corey and Mr. Feeney are now in the cafeteria and they're meeting, and again, I feel like Feeney is trying to give Corey a window to come confess and come forward.
I
but
don't
instead,
think so. I think this whole thing was a scare tactic.
Yeah, but that I feel like because the thing is, Feeney doesn't immediately tell him that he's going to a new school. He kind of talks to Corey for a little bit, and then tells him how impressed he was, and Corey's just playing dumb the entire time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny because he does the thing that Corey he targets Corey specifically with sports because at this point in time, sports is what Corey loves the most, and he's like, "Well, too bad your new school won't have any." And then that's when you find out that Corey's scored so well that they want him to go to a new school, a better school with little distractions, and everyone plays chess, and it's like a school full of Minkuses. And Corey's like trying to bow out of it again, not really owning up to it, but no,
I would
Feeney's like,
feel like a school like that would have some kind of sport because they would understand that colleges would be looking for that kind of thing.
I don't even think. I mean, of course, this is a TV school or whatever, but I feel like you're right. There would be some kind of recreation or sport. I don't know.
I also feel like that Corey wouldn't have to go to any school he didn't want to go to. I don't feel like there would be ever a circumstance where they would be like, "Hey, we're forcing you to go to this other alternative school." No, his parents would be like, "Hey, do you want to?" No, all right, then you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not the point. As you said, even if this is like a scare tactic, I also feel like in this episode, as I said, I feel upon the rewatch that Feeney is kind of done with Corey. Not done in the sense of just completely dismisses him, but he's like, you know what? I was willing to put up with all your other stuff when you were trying, but if you're gonna cheat, I don't know. I feel like Feeney's like I think he even says, I think you're going to get what you deserve. And he kind of like walks away. And I feel like it is George's way of being like, I really don't need you in my class. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you agree or
I mean,
disagree?
I don't know that George ever actually comes out and fully says that, or or even expresses that, because I didn't get that vibe from him when I saw. I thought from him that he was trying to teach Corey every step of the way. That all of this was just a teaching tool, and so much so that I would believe that Feeney called the woman and said like, "Hey, I want to meet this child for this school," like just to orchestrate it as some kind of learning lesson. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know this Feeney at this point, so it's all just kind of a guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is a guess, and we don't really know. But just personally, I don't feel that way. I feel that Feeney. I don't know. I think maybe I'm taking it a little bit personally, and this is how I would behave. But I kind of feel that Feeney is just a little disappointed and upset with Corey. So, and like, even if, like, say, for example, the principal went to Mr. Feeney and was like, oh, this kid who's in your class, the school board thinks that he should be going elsewhere. Again, I don't think Feeney's putting up any fight with it because he says, I hope I think you'll be getting exactly what you deserve. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think Feeney just knows that like he's going to learn his lesson, and so much so that Feeney's like, I don't necessarily need to be the one to teach you this lesson, and maybe I'm like too mad at you to bother to teach you this lesson. Maybe you need to learn it the hard way.
Exactly. Because again, what is interesting is what even though Corey doesn't admit to cheating, what he says is, I'm smart enough to know you don't think I'm a genius. And Feeney's like, it doesn't matter what I think because you're not in my class anymore. And the way that he says that, again, it's like, yeah, you know what? You made your bed, sleep in it. I'm not even going to attempt to tell you what you've done wrong.
Yeah, you're not my problem, kid. Get the hell out of here.
Exactly. That's
You better call Tyrone.
Better call Tyrone. You're the idiot. I love it. So, in the next scene, Corey's in his bedroom and he called Sean over. And when Sean enters, he just starts shooting Sean with Nerf balls because he's mad at Sean. And again, this was like,
Violent outrage.
What'd you say?
A violent outrage.
It is a violent outrage, but at the exact same time, I was like, this is more white boy logic. Why are you mad at Sean? Sean didn't make you cheat. Sean
All of this is their entire mindset. I don't necessarily know that it really evolves that much throughout this part of the season, is that everything is someone else's fault. Like these kids don't take responsibility for anything until it's like maybe they get to some kind of breaking point, but then they turn around and do the same shit again. So I don't know.
Exactly. Like it's a TV show, so the fact that he doesn't learn until much later is expected. But yeah, it's just like for him to be mad at Sean was laughable in itself because it was like he's like you made me do this. It's like, what did he make you do? At no point in time. In fact, he told you don't make your life harder. I was the number one person to be like, don't do this. And if anything, I'd helped you like get this far because you weren't going to do it. Because even in the next scene, Corey's like complaining and he explains that they're gonna a woman's coming to give him a second test so he can go to a new school. And Sean's like, dude, are you a genius? Corey, no. He's like, do you have the answer to this test? No. All right, do you see where I'm going with this? You get where he's like, I'm even trying to help you out with this.
Yeah, and that's where it's like, is Corey street smart or is he not? Like, I feel like this is what they do with a lot of the characters on the show, and maybe this is what I mean by sitcom dumb, where like they're dumb when it's convenient to be dumb.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
because Corey's a smart kid, and like we've seen him be smart time and time again, and yet and for the convenience of the joke, I'm assuming he gets dumb, and so I guess that's more so what I mean by sitcom dumb.
Well, yeah, I don't know if Corey is sitcom dumb in this moment. I feel like you're definitely right that Eric falls into that trope of sitcom dumb. But I feel like this is true to Corey's not thinking things through. He's always in like
just more so not being thoughtful than they are. Yeah, you're right. Thinking things through. Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. So now that we have this plan, because what's funny is Corey's like, you want me to cheat on this test? He's like, no, I want you to take the test, but you just take it to the best of your abilities. And he's like, and don't do any guessing because I'd hate for you to stumble into a right answer. And
which is kind of like some like low key shade, but it's
it
like
is.
that shade that like your friends can do to you because they know you.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. After it took Corey this long to even get that Sean was trying to tell him, you're not going to be able to get into this school if you have to take a second test. I think Sean's very comfortable being like, you just do you, and it'll work itself out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in the next scene, what I did, the next scene, we get the woman from the school, played by Jane Carr, who's always that like sophisticated. Is it British
I
or
don't know
like?
that I recognize her.
Oh yeah, she plays this character a lot, especially like in the 90s. She's like in this social class or like intelligence or whatever. Just look her up on IMDb. You'll notice her in a lot of other things. But I was like, this entire scene, I was like, this bitch.
Yeah, the entire time she's so damn rude and for no reason.
Exactly. I was like, yo, you can like calm down. She does the first line. She's like, oh, Amy, so you're a housewife, and she even kind of says it like a degrading thing. Where Alan, very rightfully, this is like, I'm like, all right, Alan, I see you. He's like, she's a homemaker, and she wrangles the kids and sells real estate all at the
I
same time.
love this. I loved how like how much the pride they had when they were talking about each other's jobs. I thought that was so cute.
I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, don't let anyone like try to shame you into your things. Cause like, then she, cause when he comes to her defense, she's like, aren't you like a manager of a supermarket? And it's like, yo, hold your horse. You're in our house.
Okay, real fast, just because I just looked up Jane Carr, she did an episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. She also did an episode of Friends, and I believe an episode of Clueless, and I believe she is this type of character, Caroline in the City, in all of these
Yeah.
episodes.
In
like
all
just
the episodes,
based
she
all
plays
the
this type
little,
of person.
yeah.
Yeah. She has her
Dharma
niche.
and Greg, all this shit. Becker, yeah.
I told you she was a 90s staple. All of those are 90s shows. And she was like playing that role.
Oh, she was also on Gilmore Girls for a little bit.
Oh yeah, she was in Gilmore Girls, but she plays part of the DAR.
Yeah,
yeah, that's her niche. Good
she
for her.
knows where she shines.
Exactly.
That's all I can say.
I would love to see her in like I would cast her in like a Friday movie.
It's interesting because her television credits are pretty like family sitcom based, but her movies are Martin Lawrence's Blue Streak, Austin Powers, Spy Who Shagged Me, and then that Rob Zombie movie 31. So she's
so she
all
can be
over
funny.
the place.
Yeah, I like it. She's no stranger to comedy.
Yeah,
Good for her.
yeah.
So while she's doing again, this woman the entire time is just being a bitch to everyone in the family. Because Morgan comes in asking for cookies or something, and she points out that Morgan's clothes don't match. Again, kind of judging their parenting. Which they're like, look, we encourage her to be creative and all this other stuff. And she goes, well, if these are the same genes, then maybe you're a child who's literally minding her own damn business.
Yeah, she just wanted a cookie. She didn't ask to be judged by this woman.
Exactly. So she does like this word association thing with Morgan.
Which, by the way, let some bitch come into my house and try to give my kid like a smart test in front of me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, get out of here.
What are you doing, woman? It's just like, I don't know. This entire episode, she's being rude. And I love that Morgan's not here for any of it because the woman's like trying to have a word association with her, and Morgan's like booger, like she's.
Yeah. Which I love. I love that. And you know what? Alan and Amy kind of laugh and chuckle in a really cute way.
They do. Exactly.
They don't care. They don't care about any of this.
Exactly. So Corey, of course, has been taking the test this entire time, and
I don't even know why he bothered to take it. I don't.
Very good.
Because he knows he's going to have to confess. He basically plans on confessing. So why not just confess before he take the test? Why even?
Because Corey doesn't think things through. That's a very
You're right. You're right. Time and time again.
It's so funny. So anyway, and also because he doesn't think things through, all he's doing is following what Sean told him. So he's like, well, Sean said I got to take the test. So
and like, what a person to look towards for advice, you know?
Exactly. So Corey finishes the test, and right away the woman's like, oh, most people need like an hour. And this will confirm what we already know, and that's when Amy and Alan are like, yeah, this will confirm what we already know. And by looking at it, she goes, all right, so it says here, according to this test, that you just have the IQ of an average 6th grader.
Can we talk about this for 1 second?
Yeah.
She said most people take an hour for the test. He got it done lightning fast and was still able to have the average IQ of a 6th grader. That's a smart kid.
Well, no, see, that's another thing that I think is important is Corey is smart. Like, we've said a lot of times is like, how smart is Corey really? But yeah, he's just a different kind of smart. And as you said, the fact that it takes most students a long time and Corey did all of this and was still able to get an average score, there's probably even more. He probably has more intelligence than that test is even.
Yeah, I'm sure if his confidence was up, if he had a chance to study for a little bit, like I'm sure he could be a great student, and maybe that's why Feeney gets so consistently upset with him.
Yeah,
it's because he's like, this kid could be amazing if he just actually applied himself.
Exactly, which is basically the lesson of the episode.
Yeah, yeah.
But but of course here what happens is the woman is like, oh, so Corey clearly cheated on the IQ test. And everyone's like, yeah, we knew that. And she's like, no, he cheated on this one because he doesn't want to leave his friends behind. And she's like, it happens all the time. And that's when everyone's like, wait, what? No. Boy's just not that smart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like, especially after your interaction you just had with Morgan, I don't know why you would be so persistent as to think that this kid had some secret genius.
But I feel like maybe it happens enough. And, like every time she does this, a kid is just like, oh, I don't want to be taken away.
Yeah.
Which again, it's like, well, should the kid have a say in it? Maybe
yeah,
a little bit?
Don't. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You can't force some kid. Like, that's called prison, right?
So, long story short, Corey confesses. He confesses that he cheated on the test and that he's just a normal kid. And I don't get me wrong, the family has like this family moment while she's there, and it is a little bit like, okay, you're being rude to this guest in your house, which I would feel more bad if she didn't immediately was like, well, I have to go test other prodigies, and I can't waste my time with normal people. And it's like, excuse you.
Yeah.
And then
I at that point it was just the rudeness was staggering at that point.
Yeah, exactly. But don't worry, Morgan comes in her zombie costume, and she like it's funny because she was making fun of Morgan's clothes, and Morgan comes back downstairs and is like, "Is this better?" And it is a nice little comeuppance.
But yeah, I can't waste my time with normal people. Just like, what a bitch. Like, I will tell you this, like, just from watching the season, Boy Meets World knows how to write the bitchy character. Like, if they want to use it, they can bring out the big guns.
Yeah, exactly. And I just like the way that they dealt with it. And it's a good use of Morgan, and it's a good way to get her out of the house.
Yeah.
So I just really enjoyed it. And then this is when Corey says that, he's like, he knew that his parents knew he wasn't a genius, and asked him why he asked them why they even went along with it. And they were like, we're never going to accuse you of cheating because we had no proof, but we were kind of hoping you would get to the conclusion your own. You know what I mean?
And again, like, I guess I don't have parents like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Cheating.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, they are dealing with this really well.
Especially if my parents knew that that's something I would do. They're like, no, man, I'll take care of this.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. That little black. Oh, don't worry.
I'll take. Oh yeah, as soon as we get home, don't worry. We'll have a talk about.
We got it. We're gonna have a talk. You and I gonna have a talk. A good long talk. So anyway, in our next scene, the final scene, Corey comes up to Mr. Feeney and says that he's going to return his bozo nose, which we had mentioned earlier in the episode. And he figures if he's going to give up being the class genius, he's going to give up being the class clown, which again, it's like that's all Feeney wanted from you.
He told you up front what he wanted from you. In the first scene, I want you to try hard.
Exactly. And we went through this whole rabbit hole. And so he was like, I think, he figured, or he tells Feeney that he figured if he would have been smarter or a genius, that he would have had Feeney's respects. Or respect. Why did I say it with an S? Anyway.
Because he wants all of the respect.
Yeah.
He wants plural respect.
And Feeney says right then and there, he's like, look, the only thing a student needs to do to get my respect is try their hardest, which is why this Lewis kid, he failed the last test, and Feeney's like, I consider that a failure of myself. And that shows what we already know about Feeney, that he's a great teacher, you know what I mean? And that he considers, he's like, if you gave it your all and you didn't understand it, that is my shortcoming, not yours. But if you didn't even try, that's where we have a problem.
Yeah, it's just a sign of a great teacher that he's able to recognize his own shortcomings when the time comes, and say like, "Oh, as a teacher, I can." And the fact that as a teacher, he's still trying to improve. Like, how many teachers do you know who've been working for 20 years or whatever it's been, who are still like actively trying? I mean, actually, that's a shitty thing to say to teachers. But in my experience, when I had teachers that were of a certain age group, it didn't seem like they cared as much. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
no.
it's
I mean,
cool
like,
that he's putting that effort in.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can say that I didn't have teachers who cared as much because I feel like I was very fortunate to have that. But this is a good sign. Sorry, a sign of a good teacher for sure. And I definitely think that this is why Feeney is. Again, this is back when the relationship is more about the trifecta of Alan and Corey and Feeney. You know what I mean? This is back when they're
Yeah, where
building
that
these
was that
storylines.
was a huge plot point before like Topanga got introduced.
Exactly. And so I think that that's one of the reasons why Feeney is such like a ideal teacher, because he does take this time and interest in his students.
It just also just seems like he knows how to teach these kids before. Like it doesn't ever seem like he has a teaching attempt that fails. Like I would be interested to seeing that at some point, to where it doesn't seem like he's constantly 5 steps ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, that would be interesting. All right, and then our epilogue is Feeney handing out rulers, which is, it's nothing. Yeah, it is what it is.
Eye rolling, yeah.
Exactly. All right, Feeney taught me. What's the main takeaway from this episode?
Don't lie.
Yeah, don't lie, or be better at it if you're going to. Like, think it
Be
through.
better at lying is the lesson of this episode, guys.
No, honestly, I feel like the lesson is, as you said, just put in effort. When you put in effort, you get rewarded. But when you try to take shortcuts, there's just always more fallout than you think there's going to be.
I think there is something to this be better at lying thing too, when I really think about it. Just think about this. Think about this. If you had the answers to the test, you wouldn't get them all right. You would make some wrong.
Thank
so
you.
It didn't
That's what
seem
I was
like...
saying, dude. You made. I totally had forgotten I had written that note, but I was just like, all right. See, when you get older and you learn how to lie, you even throw in a few bad ones.
Yeah, you can't get greedy with it, but like you could pull it off if you weren't, I don't know. Be better at lying is for me the lesson I got taught from this episode.
I'm just laughing so much because I literally had that thought after they did the results. I was like, all right, see, dude, you aimed too high.
Yeah, a perfect score, bro. Come on.
But also, that's one of the things that also I want to go back because I forgot about. Corey says that he memorized all of the answers to the first test.
Yes.
In a
memorized
day.
It, bro.
That is intelligence. That's one of the things that I was like, dude, are we not like, I would be impressed with that. I was like, again,
either that,
as a parent,
or it just goes, it's either that, or it goes back to that whole concept of Corey learns when he wants to learn.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So what grade are you giving it? Because honestly, I disagree. Well, yeah. What grade are you giving this?
I'm giving it a C-.
You're sticking with yours?
Sticking with it. It's just it's a blah episode for me.
See, I mean, it is. I kind of want to give it more, but I'm sticking with my C+. I feel like it's not a great episode in terms of balance and everything, but the parts that are here are played well. And I think we do well with the parts that we're given.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely see worse episodes after this one, but
yeah,
I just feel, you know what? I really stand by my theory that a Topanga-less episode is an episode that has trouble getting a high score with me. It's just, there needs to be that balance of male and female perspectives that we're just not getting. It's so heavy on the male perspective.
I'm not going to disagree with you, especially after White Boy Logic.
Yeah, it's just, and like whenever Amy and Morgan are in the story, they're just plot devices to serve other stories that have to do with Alan and Corey. So it's just, it really needs more female just a little touch, just to help it out.
I completely agree. Okay, so that was our episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. A lot of you asked about this episode, so we're happy to give it to you. Thank you. Make sure that you are following us on Bruh Meets World on Twitter, Facebook, all of the social media platforms. Email us if you want. Of course, we have questions now. bruhmeetsworld@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at Extra Siege. That's XTRACEEJ. TC, where you at?
You can still find me on Twitter at Anna Kendrick RT, Anna Kendrick retweets, or Braver Me on Instagram.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Remember, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify.
Spotify, guys, we're some serious shit now.
Yeah, make sure that you are leaving us reviews. Again, more and more of you are doing so, and we appreciate it.
We love it.
All right, so remember to dream, try, and do what, TC?
Do well.
Do good, sir.
Well, Topanga says like that. She's like,
I
don't
know.
you mean do well? Like, no,
I remember it. I got it, dude. I was
like, I'm tearing up just talking about it. Dream, try, and do good, guys.
Later, bros.
Later, bruh.